Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahabe Kajur, but first are the headlines. Police constable suspended for pepper spraying journalists. Karamojo Affairs Minister Mary Goretti denied bail. Court hears case against Meta over dismissal of employees. In our sports news today, Ukraine's provisional squad for the upcoming World Cup named. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. The Ugandan police force has suspended CPL Ogwal Yeko for pepper spraying journalists as they covered the arrest of pre-medical interns who attempted to march to Parliament over the delayed commencement of medical internship. Our reporter Nadugo has more.
The police spokesperson, Fred Enanga, said in a statement that Ogwal has been suspended and handed over to the Professional Standards Unit as investigations continue. He also added that the police force has also summoned 3 charges in charge as investigations into the attacks continue. Enanga said in a statement that the officer who acted unprofessionally has been identified as CPL Ogwal Yeko. Although the officer issued an apology to the journalists, he has still been suspended and handed over to the Professional Standards Unit for investigations. The police spokesperson added that they have sent out a new administrative circular to all territorial commanders to regularly review their enforcement operations in line with what the public rightly expects from them. Several journalists have come out to condemn the brutal actions of some police officers where some of their colleagues were assaulted in the line of duty.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Moving on, in our top stories, Karamojo Affairs Minister Dr. Mary Goretti Chitutu was on Wednesday denied bail by the Court of Anti-Corruption over lack of substantial sureties. We have more on that report. Ms. Chitutu's lawyers, led by Mr. Michael Wamasebu, a former Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. John Musime, and Mr. Jude Biamukama, last week listed ill health, advanced age of 61, having a permanent residence in Bunga within the jurisdiction of court, and handed to court 2 land titles, each measuring half an acre in Mokiso district as grounds for her release on bail. The presiding magistrate, Ms. Marion Asiro, however, had stood over the matter to today, citing insufficient time to review the lengthy bail arguments made by both her lawyers and the state. 3 of her sureties, who include her husband, Mr. George Chitutu, failed to show proof of financial capacity to stand as surety in such a case. The case has been adjourned to Friday, April 14th, when the said sureties are expected to present their credentials in order for court to determine whether to grant the minister bail or not. The minister, who has for more than 2 months been at the center of controversy of allegedly diverting iron sheets meant for the vulnerable people in Karamoja, was sent to Luzira last Thursday after the presiding magistrate stood over the matter to yesterday, citing insufficient time to review the lengthy bail arguments made by both her lawyers and the state. Minister Chitutu faces 2 counts of loss of public property and 1 count of conspiracy to defraud, according to the charge sheet that was presented before the court last week. She is jointly charged with her younger brother, Michael Naboya Chitutu, and Mr. Joshua Abaho, the Senior Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Karamojo Affairs in the Office of the Prime Minister. Thank you so much, reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with international news. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the bright to know. In international news, a Kenyan court hears a bid by Facebook's parent company Meta to stop a lawsuit accusing it, among other things, of exploitation and poor working conditions. Now, Meta is seeking to have the case struck down, arguing that the local employment and labor employment court has no jurisdiction over it because it is neither based in nor trades in Kenya. We have more on this report.
In March, 43 moderators working at Facebook's moderation center in the East African nation announced that they filed a lawsuit against Meta, the platform's parent company, for unlawful dismissal. After the court session in Nairobi on Wednesday, Mase Mutemi, the lawyer for former content moderators at Sama, said that what basically is the challenge of the case is how they were treated while being Facebook content moderators and the manner in which Facebook and Sama tried to terminate their contracts. The 43 were part of 260 moderators fired in January by Sama, the outsourcing company that has run the office since 2019. It is not the first time that Facebook is being involved in controversy, leading to lawsuits in Kenya. In December 2022, Meta, the social media parent company, was accused of fueling online ethnic hatred and violence in Kenya and Ethiopia. A $1.6 billion fund has been called for to compensate victims while legal proceedings are still ongoing.
Away from that, the signatories of the deal set by Sudanese ruling junta and civilian groups to organize a gradual transfer of power to civilians known as Framework Agreement have missed a deadline to advance towards a return to democracy. According to a timeline set up by the parties, a new prime minister and institutions of the Institutional Authority should have been announced on Tuesday. The deadline elapsed after the parties twice failed to sign a final transition deal over disagreements on the integration of paramilitary rapid support forces into the army. Yasir Aman, a member of an umbrella group of pro-democracy factions, wrote on Twitter on Wednesday that the point of contention between the two forces concerns the command and control of the committee tasked with overseeing the organization. Divisions between Sudan's deputy leader, who is the RSF commander, and the military chief and the de facto head of Sudan raises fears of confrontations between the army and the RSF. In recent weeks, both forces have amassed troops and weapons in and around Sudan's capital Khartoum. The army has greatly ramped up its presence in the city center, parking armored vehicles at nearly all junctions leading to the country's presidential palace. Moving on, Tunisian police used tear gas on Tuesday to disperse about 100 African asylum seekers and migrants who had been camping outside the headquarters of the UN Refugee Agency in the capital Tunis for some 25 days. We have more on this report.
In an open letter, the group from 15 sub-Saharan countries said they had taken refuge near the building after being chased out of several Tunisian cities following a February speech by President Kais Saied slamming illegal immigration. But local residents were not happy with their presence, saying they were blocking the passage and that people could no longer leave their homes. Malian asylum seeker Famosa Koita said he had received his status and had done his resettlement interview, but that others were increasingly frustrated over the long wait for their case to be dealt with by the UN agency. Koita added that the UNHCR could not deal with all of them, and so it was up to the asylum seekers to understand that there are a lot of applications and they can't be processed all at the same time. On April 3rd, the agency in Tunisia announced on its Facebook page that it had stopped all registration and pre-registration activities from 31st March to 17th April due to a migration of the registration and identity system.
Moving on, South Africa said on Wednesday that an international arrest warrant for Russian President Putin had complicated matters for the country ahead of a BRICS summit it is due to host in August. According to President Cyril Ramaphosa's spokesperson Vincent Magwenya, all heads of state would be expected to attend the summit, but they now have a spanner in the works in the form of this ICC warrant. The bloc of 5 leading emerging economies groups together Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Pretoria has close ties with Moscow and has refused to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine and also hosted a controversial joint military exercises with Russia and China that coincided with the 1-year anniversary of the start of the war. But South Africa faces a diplomatic dilemma following the issuing of the arrest warrant because, as a member of the ICC, it would be expected to arrest Putin if he steps foot in the country. The Russian leader is charged with ordering the unlawful removal of Ukrainian children and transporting them to Russia during the ongoing war. South Africa says it is looking into ways to dealing with the issue. We take a quick break. She'll come back with business, health, and sports. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. Talking matters business, the outlook for the world economy this year has dimmed in the face of chronically high inflation, rising interest rates, and uncertainties resulting from the collapse of two big American banks. We have more on this report.
That's the view of the International Monetary Fund, which on Tuesday downgraded its outlook for global economic growth. The IMF now envisions growth this year of 2.8%, down from 3.4% in 2022 and from 2.9% estimate for 2023 it made in its previous forecast in January. The fund said the possibility of a hard landing in which rising interest rates weaken growth so much as to cause a recession has risen sharply, especially in the world's wealthiest countries. Those conditions are also increasing the risks to global financial stability, the fund warned. The IMF, a 190-country lending organization, is forecasting 7% global inflation this year, down from 8.7% in 2022, but up from its January forecast of 6.6% for 2023. The fund's annual Global Financial Stability Report, also released on Tuesday, issued recommendations for international decision makers. The fund foresees a 25% likelihood that global growth will fall below 2% for 2023. That has happened only 5 times since 1970, most recently when COVID-19 derailed global commerce in 2020.
In our health news today, parents and autistic children and an inclusive school are committed to raising awareness in the Congo. La Case Dominique welcomes children with autism and Down syndrome. The school was set up in 1999 by Religious Sisters of Saint Martin. We have more on this report. According to Sister Ida, the objective of La Case school is basically to teach the Congolese and tell them that the autistic child is a child like any other one, a child who must be welcomed, who has rights, and whom they must try to understand in order to better accompany him. Autism is a human development disorder characterized by social learning and communication difficulties, with stereotyped behaviors, highly repetitive gestures, and lack of coordination of movement. To this day, autism is considered by many Congolese as a mystical disease with witchcraft origins. Prejudiced attitudes push some parents to hide their autistic children. There are no official statistics on the number of autistic children in the country. In a sports news today, She Cranes provisional squad for the 2023 Netball World Cup has been named. The squad consists of 30 players, including the 3 foreign best players Mary Nuba, Peace Praskovia, and Stella Oyela. We have more on this report.
Training will start on Monday, April 17th, with the home-based players taking part. The World Cup will be played at Cape Town International Convention Center from July 28th to August 6th in Cape Town, South Africa. She Cranes were drawn into Group D alongside New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago, and Singapore. They will start the tournament with a fixture against Singapore. Among the players named in the provisional squad include shooters Namlumba Christine Kang of Prisons Netball Club, Sarah Zam of NIC, and Aguti Godlife of UPDF. The team includes mid-court players like Bagala Margaret of NIC, Akelo Malisera of Prisons, Joyce Nachibule of Prison, among others, while defenders like Kadondi Farida of Weyonje, Hanisha Muhammad of KCCA, Nasaka Shakira of Weyonje, Kayen Privas of NIC will also feature. The coaching team is headed by Mgira Fred, deputized by Namudu Sara.
Thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.